I have good news and I have bad news. Good news. Everlasting Survivors, All Day Long, Volume 1, still available at Etsy.com. Bad news is what I promoted last week as this week's episode, which is a SummerSlam triple shot of what I think will happen, what I want to happen, and a wildcard pick. Not what I'm talking about. So, any wrestling fan knows that this has been a really, really weird and eventful week in professional wrestling with the retirement events, the elevation of Stephanie, the put back in place of Triple H, like, if the rumors are true that Brock walked out on SmackDown, yada yada, all the stuff. It just seems so challenging to get the ideas out and actually have faith that they will work out. So instead of exclusively doing a WWE predictions, what I'm going to do is I'm going to talk about Death Before Dishonor that I watched last night, the first Tony Khan run Ring of Honor, or fully run Tony Khan Ring of Honor show. And then after, give some just general thoughts on what might come to be with the WWE. So, with that in mind, here comes the open, and enjoy the show. So, after watching so much wrestling recently, the return of Ring of Honor has not only felt necessary given all of the talent out there, but it was one of the best ROH shows I've seen, because anybody who watched the classics knows that they were great at putting on wrestling, but not great at producing a product. Now, it did get better in the modern time as far as like being able to hear what's going on and see things good. But this first full-on Tony Khan Ring of Honor production, it had a 1-hour pre-show, and it opened up with Colt Cabana versus Anthony Henry. It was fun. It was good, and it made me believe that Anthony Henry would win a few times, which is great, given the fact that Colt Cabana ended up pulling out the victory. It was surprising and entertaining, and it was a great way to open. Crowd very much into Colt Cabana. I mean, how can you not be? I guess met him a few times. Great guy. The pre-show, or the 0 hours they call it, continues with the second match, which is a tag team match. Shinobi Shadow Warriors versus the Trustbusters. The first thing that crosses my mind when I see that, when I hear that, when it pops up, is two tag teams with tag team names. What's the world coming to? I'm kidding. I love it. I think every team, every tandem that teams together should have a name. And speaking of teams and names, the third match of the night is a trios match. It's the group formerly known as Tully Blanchard Enterprises, because now Tully Blanchard Enterprises has been bought out by Prince Nana, a very classic Ring of Honor character who's been brought back, who's independently wealthy, so he paid out Tully Blanchard. I don't know if Tully's going to work for AEW still and do work over there, or if he just is, is done being on the road and is going home. Either which way. What used to be Tully Blanchard Enterprises is now the Embassy, which is Khan, Teo, and Cage versus Alex Zane, Blake Christian, and Tony Deppen. It was all action all the time. Embassy do pick up the win. It was a great way to highlight 6 young talents. The fourth and final match of the pre-show was Willow Nightingale versus Allison Kay. Both these women, super great. I really hope that ROH can get a good distribution deal, whether it's streaming or over-the-air TV. If it was streaming, yes, please. But Willow hits a beautiful pounce. One of my notes said, I miss Monty Brown. But yeah, Willow Nightingale's finisher really rocks. She's super cool. So the show opened in a very surprising way to me. I mean, after the pre-show, so get the welcome to the big show, and here comes Claudio Castagnoli, who is getting a world championship match against Jonathan Gresham. The commentators put over a very smart concept, which I would hope that not only they in Ring of Honor, but I would like for AEW to use this general idea going forward, which is when you have multiple high-profile matches, you do a coin toss to figure out who opens and who closes. That way that it doesn't seem as if people are getting preferential treatment or special treatment. I thought that was a good line. Regal's on commentary with Ian Riccaboni and Caprice Coleman for the match, because he came out with Claudio. Prince Nana doesn't come out with Gresham initially, but he does make his way to the ring for the match. And both these guys are amazing, crazy, athletic folks. And in our first match of the night, we have our first title change of the night. After, I think it's 22-year-long career, Claudio Castagnoli is finally a world champion of a promotion. And, you know, why wouldn't you make him the world champion? The guy's an amazing athlete and has great ties to this company. Many people thought he woulda, coulda, shoulda elsewhere, but I'm glad it happened here. Second up for the night is another championship match. We got a lot. We have that a lot on the primary card, but Dalton Castle and the boys, who finally have names, not just Boy 1 and Boy 2. They're Brandon and Brent. I hope they're Brandon and Brent Boy, but they didn't go so far as to give them last names. Take on the Righteous. The match is good, but in my mind, it was almost a foregone conclusion that the Righteous were losing, because all three of them have been working other promotions. They've not defended the Trios titles since they've held them, because of the fact that ROH is sunset down, and then they all were picked up by other folks. So Dalton Castle and the boys do win, which I'm not mad at. It makes perfect sense. If I had to say one thing, I would almost say I think this would have been smart, if possible, to book back on Battle of the Belts, the TV special they did a month or two ago, and that way we could have a more not questionable, but a more a match that was less predictable on the pay-per-view. But hey, again, title match, new champions, great times. Third match, this one kind of surprised me. I thought that this was going to be possibly semi-main, but then I remembered what the semi-main is. I was like, of course this is not going to take that spot. But third up is the Pure Rules match of Wheeler Yuta versus Daniel Garcia. They almost made me believe that it couldn't be done as a Pure Rules match with all of the car accident and personal talk about Garcia's mom having to help him on and off the toilet after almost dying in the car accident. It was like, man, this feud feels almost too not serious, but like they're gonna go and break some rules. But they do stick within the rules. At one point they're going at it, and Garcia just gives Wheeler a super sick headbutt, and that thing was nasty. But that's not where it ends in this thing, because later on there's a an attempt to a suplex Wheeler in, but Garcia just drops him out, and he takes a nasty face bump onto the floor. I'm like, this place is crazy. So Regal's back on commentary because Yuta's one of his boys, which that'll come into play later on, and in the show, not the match. And so on commentary, Regal says that it's no good to be a great wrestler if you have no other great wrestlers to wrestle. And I was just like, that's pretty freaking funny, but also very accurate because, like they say, what is it? Iron sharpens iron, something like that. So I forget what Regal said, but I wrote down Regal is money on commentary. So yeah, it's funny. The fans chant "This is wrestling" because again, these guys do great work. At one point, Daniel Garcia puts Wheeler Yuta in his mentor William Regal's stretch finish. Yuta's able to work his way out, but then he puts Daniel Garcia in his mentor Chris Jericho's Lion Tamer finisher, and it's just like the mirroring of the mentors is a very fun aspect of the match. Yuta does retain in a very creative match, and I just think if this is what we can expect for a return of a weekly Ring of Honor, I will 100% put that on the calendar. Watch it. It's been a great show. Next up, we got Brother versus Brother, Dragon Lee versus Rush. I mean, these guys, they're insane. Like, there was at one point, Rush is on the outside. His brother dives at him and puts him through the dang old table. And after that, he rolled him in. He went for a big double stomp. I was like, how is this not the finish? Like, my goodness. That had one hell of a chop exchange, and they just wouldn't stop bringing it the whole time. Like, it was an all high octane match. Rush and Dragon Lee, whew. But yeah, Rush does pull out the win, which makes sense. He's been on AEW programming throughout this recent time. They said he's been on a 9-match winning streak. This makes for 10. So he is wrestling Jon Moxley this week for Fight for the Fallen. So it makes logical sense. They didn't announce the match that he's having with Mox before, so that helped not give it away. But up next is Serena Deeb versus Mercedes Martinez. Both these women rock. I am shocked as all hell to see Serena Deeb tap out. Like, no knock on Mercedes, but like, Serena has been built and built and built as like the best women's technician in probably all of wrestling on television right now. And to see her tap out was a real compliment to Mercedes Martinez, so that was cool. And so here's the semi-main event, the match that I was like, of course it cannot be anywhere else other than the semi-main. It's Samoa Joe versus Jay Lethal, and they have, I don't know, a 6-minute match, 8-minute match before the bell even rings. So before Jay Lethal can even get to the ring steps or to the ring apron, Joe's music hits, and Lethal was clearly frustrated by this. He turns around, Joe throws down his towel that he wears around his neck, and they just start going at it, like start fighting on the aisleway, and they fight around the ring. At one point, Satman Singh comes out and attacks Joe, and then Lethal throws him in and tells the ref to ring the bell. The ref won't until Singh gets out of there. Like, it's like they even had chair spots before the match, because that's the beauty of being a rules-based company, is that you can break the rules just so long as you do it in a smart way. And they did. They broke all the rules before the match started. As soon as, or before the bell would even ring, the ref said, "Get out of here, big monster man," and then he rings the bell. And so, even later on, Sanjay Dutt tries to help Jay Lethal cheat by running down and throwing in a pipe. But that was just a misdirect, because as the ref was getting the pipe, Lethal uses Joe's TV championship to hit him with it. And when he does that, that's when Jay goes for the pin, because he hit Joe with the title, but instead of Jay winning, Joe kicks out, and in the end, Joe locks on the clutch, and Jay Lethal has to tap out. That was surprising. Only mildly. I mean, not that I don't expect Joe to win matches, but that he was able to overcome so much, and so that was cool. And so main event time, FTR, 7-star FTR versus them boys who have I don't know if it's actually on the merch, but on their entrance coats it says what did it say? It said the top 5 dead or alive, and I was just like, you put that on a shirt, it's like, that's great advertising right there. I don't care if the tag team is dead or alive, we're in the top 5 conversation. And so that's good merchandise. But so in the end, FTR win when Dax Harwood hits a second rope pile driver. They cut a promo with multiple F-bombs. It was surprising. So I kind of blame Jon Moxley for this, but ever since AEW's first pay-per-view where Mox came down and set up for the future, every time I'm at a big pay-per-view where we just had a great card of excellent wrestling, I think, oh, who's debuting so that we can set up something for the future. And also I was racking my brain, I was like, what tag teams are available to debut or to confront FTR? Like, I really want Guerrillas of Destiny. But anyway, the people who confronted FTR were not outsiders. As a matter of fact, it was the Blackpool Combat Club, the Ring of Honor World Champion, the Ring of Honor Pure Champion. But because they stayed on the ramp and FTR were in the ring, it's unclear precisely whether or not the Blackpool Combat Club are looking them over for potential membership or looking at them as potential opponents. Personally, I would rather them be opponents, especially given the blending or the bleed over from AEW and Ring of Honor at the moment, with there not being a ROH TV show. Because I would love if they had the Blackpool Combat Club invite FTR into the group, and for FTR to look at them and say, while I appreciate the thought, we are already with the Pinnacle, and the Pinnacle are always on top. But do it in a babyface way, right? So you're using MJF's old line of, we're in the Pinnacle and the Pinnacle's always on top. But at that point, that's when you hear, this is war. And Wardlow, who's TNT champion, joins FTR, who are every freaking brand's tag team champion. And then you set up for what in my mind is an, I don't know when Battle of the Belts is 3, but if they did FTR and Wardlow versus Mox, Wheeler, and Claudio, whew, like not titles on line, but just champion. Oh my goodness, that would be so cool. Yeah, and maybe they'll invite him in, maybe they won't. Maybe it's a match, maybe it's not. I don't know. Maybe the Blackpool Combat Club were just excited because it was they watched a cool match. But overall, I think the show was well worth the $39.99, which is I'm a big fan of that. I was worried when the show was announced. I was like, man, I don't want to throw down another, $50-$60, and so it was nice to save a few dollars. But now that we've got Death Before Dishonor talked about and out of the way, let's dive into the WWE product. So, originally, as you know from the open, this show was going to be a triple shot, or hell, the heck, you might know that from last week's episode. But with so much change and so much influx with WWE, it felt disingenuous to tell you what I think will happen, what I want to happen in a wild card pick, because everything at the moment in WWE is a wild card, with Vince retiring, with his daughter being co-CEO, and Triple H back in the role of talent relations. And so, no matter what I think will happen, it could all be tossed away in no time. Especially if the rumors are true that when Brock Lesnar heard Vince was done and he walked out and said, "Oh, if he's out, I'm out." I'm like, I mean, it's crazy, because I don't know. I mean, Brock's actual wife sued Vince McMahon, so to have that kind of love for the old man, it seems puzzling. But yeah, why I'm not doing a prediction is because I'm going to talk about the very important thing that comes from this big change, which is guidance of the future and the hope that it brings. So, I often talk positively about how I feel in terms of All Elite Wrestling and now Ring of Honor, who are both owned by Tony Khan. But I think the simplest way of putting it is, it's a young person with vision and who sticks to the plan as best they can, because you can't plan for everything. As long as WWE do the same, have a clear vision, stick to it, and become youth-oriented, I may, in fact, actually start caring much more for the product. Because back in the spring, when I watched WrestleMania, I was displeased with their reliance on the past. And now, granted, they may still do that for a time. I don't know. I mean, nobody knows anything, because we're still in that weird place. But my hope is that, and this hope is based around something that we actually saw for a solid period of time. When Triple H, the son-in-law of Vince McMahon, ran NXT, it had a clear vision, it focused on new talent, and it was entertaining. So that's all I'm really asking. Like, I'm asking so little of you people, or like this creative team. And so that's the reason that I didn't do the triple shot here, is because I don't. We could tune in to Raw or SmackDown and just be like, and here's the reset. We also might not. Who knows? And maybe they'll wait till after SummerSlam to show big changes. But I'm cautiously optimistic that it will get better. I almost don't see how it could get worse with just a new focus, a new drive, and a new guidance, not none of this ripping everything up and starting over. So, thanks for tuning in. It was fun watching Ring of Honor's rebirth, and I hope that it's fun watching whatever WWE becomes. Tune in next week for a retro movie review. See if we're actually able to watch The Spirit, because we've been struggling with that. And yeah, thanks for being here.